All right, good evening, everyone. I'll now call to order the Tuesday, August 9, 2022 meeting of the City of Sugar Land Planning and Zoning Commission. Good evening, commissioners and guests. First item of business is public comment. Do we have anyone signed up tonight for either of the three options of public comment? All right, then we will move on to item 3A, consideration of and action on the minutes of the July 28, 2022 meeting. Commissioners, you have the meeting minutes in your packets. Any questions or revisions about the minutes? I've got a motion to approve the minutes by Vice Chair Simeon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And I've got a second, sounded like from Commissioner Brown. Any further discussion? All right, if you'll please vote at this time. All right, I see 5 aye votes in the system with Commissioner Hart indicating that he's also an aye. So that will pass, but we'll try to address the technical issue as well. All good? All right, we'll go on to item 4A, consideration of and action on a recommendation for a proposed rezoning of 2.586 acres from Imperial General Development Plan to Imperial Ballpark District, Boxy Retail Plaza Final Development Plan for a commercial development located along Stadium Drive, adjacent to the Imperial Ballpark Lofts. To members of City Council, Lauren Fair, Interim City Planner Development Planning. Good evening, Lauren.
I see that. I got it. I'm just trying to get
It's like over with the candy.
There we go. And now you can hear me. Okay, so we are here tonight for consideration and action on the Boxy Retail Plaza FDP. So just as a reminder from our public hearing a couple weeks ago, the site is located here. This is the overall Imperial development area. We are on Stadium Drive here, the Constellation Field, and the Ballpark Lofts, and Highway 90 would be down here. So quick overview, proposed 2.5 acres located along Stadium Drive, adjacent to the Constellation Field and Ballpark Lofts. It is part of the first step Imperial General Development Plan, GDP. It is proposed one-story development, three different one-story buildings focused on retail, some restaurant, office building uses with surface parking. Our access would come from Stadium Drive as well as Silent Manor Drive, adjacent to the residential community there. And this is taking a look at the site layout plan that the commission reviewed at the public hearing. Again, these are the 3 one-story buildings. Access would come here off Stadium Drive into the parking lot, but could also come from the Silent Manor cul-de-sac as well through. You'll see the little purple asterisks. Those are possible outdoor dining areas located in some of the green space next to the buildings here. The next exhibit is the pedestrian access. So this focuses on connectivity from the site to the existing trail system around both the amenity lake as well as along Stadium Drive, and then the connectivity between buildings coming up from the Ballpark Lofts, which is existing, and then kind of connecting out to the overall pedestrian network as well. So the commission held a public hearing on July 28th. There were no members of the public that spoke during the meeting. Several discussion items focused on the site layout and the building orientation, and discussing how that interacts with the amenity lake directly to the north of the site. Some opportunities for the outdoor and the patio areas that could be on the rear of buildings. Talked a little bit through that and how the building layouts were in proximity to the actual property boundary based on the property lines with the detention pond to the north. Talked and focused a little bit on pedestrian access, both in and around the site. So that was looking at the access from the Ballpark Lofts, and some of that was built into the final development plan that the city reviewed several years ago for the multifamily there, and making sure there was access to this site and then again onto Stadium Drive. Talked about landscaping and ensuring open space requirements would be met. And then from a use standpoint, the commission and staff and the applicant talked through the tobacco, hookah, and vapor retail shop use and some regulations around that, and kind of held a discussion around that. So have a few consideration points. Most of them focus on aligning with the general land plan, the general development plan, talking about maintaining the connectivity from the pedestrian walkway standpoint to our existing walkways through the lofts, concurrence with the TIA, and we talked a little bit about that at the public hearing. And then the use that I mentioned was actually removed. So these specific use list now is tailored towards retail, restaurant, and office, no drive-through lanes, and then that tobacco, hookah, and vapor retail use was subsequently removed by the applicant team. And so with that, staff would support a recommendation of approval to the mayor and city council for this proposed rezoning to Boxy Retail Center final development plan. And we're happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions from the commissioners? Well, we'll wait on you, Commissioner Hart. You're down there almost all by yourself. Commissioner Bellwood, any questions from this end? I'll get to you.
No, I don't.
Oh, no questions? Commissioner Brown?
Good evening, thank you. I do. I got a couple of questions, and I'm going to go back to the comment that we talked about last week, which was the rear of the building that faces a north water area. I drove it, and that's not your typical detention pond. I mean, that is very well landscaped. It's got benches. I saw a guy there kayaking today. I mean, it's not just a water feature. It is something that's been very well designed. And we talked about where these possible dining areas or outdoor areas may be. And while we can't control who they're going to lease to and do that, I do think if you look at the building regulations, item G, it says all front and side building facade shall include offsets, changes in building materials, colors, and textures. With this facing the lake and it being as prominent as it is, I would like to see the rear of the building also have to have those types of features on them, not just the fronts and the sides. I think it makes sense for that area. It's a beautiful area in that part of town. And I know you're putting a lot of glass back there, but just having this one-dimensional back, I think we can do a little bit more and make it very, very upscale.
So, yeah, I'm trying to follow which one. So G1A page. Okay. So front and side buildings. Okay, so
That's my recommendation on this.
Recommendation to add it to
Something I
the-
would like to see. And also, it talks in here, and I don't have the drawing in front of me, but it shows the
can I
different.
clarify real quick? Specific to building 2 and 3?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
On the other layouts and the other building drawings, which are the black and white drawings, it shows the sides of the buildings. And I believe on building 3, it shows an elevation of just one side of the building that faces that courtyard, or do both sides have that same kind of build out and look that you otherwise, let me get there so I can.
Yeah, you're correct. So the way it's currently showing is that it was the side elevation facing here, this side.
No, I'm talking building between buildings 3 and 2.
Oh, 3 and 2.
Yes,
Sorry.
ma'am.
Okay.
I believe, and I've got the drawing here.
This,
It's a black and white drawing. Yeah, Exhibit B8. It shows that building 3 side elevation shows some nice architectural features. I don't see a building 2, the building 2 side elevation. Is that the elevation that faces Stadium Drive? Because I don't see one that faces the courtyard.
So building 2 has, yeah. so has
Okay,
the
it's
side
right here. Okay,
Right.
Okay.
Mhm, yes.
good. All right, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah.
That's a fold over, so I take that back.
No problem.
And the other comment I would like to make is this is directly adjacent to the stadium. And it's catty-cornered from the parking lot. And is there gonna be any signage for after-hours parking to keep stadium tenancy out of there or stadium guests out of that parking lot? Because if you can pay $5 to get in next door, I can park here and walk. I'm gonna guess there's a segment here that will pay to walk. And I know that's not our job to govern that, but it takes us to the traffic comment last week, which is the foot traffic going across Stadium Drive. If you have significant parking there, as you come down that overpass and you make that bend through that area, I worry about a ton of foot traffic in that area. And does traffic feel good about, we talked last week or 2 weeks ago about some kind of lighting or some kind of mitigation to help with pedestrian foot traffic over there.
Lighting. Oh, I do remember that conversation. Yes. So what is your I'm trying to.
Well, I guess
Follow how to
traffic's
answer.
not here tonight.
Okay,
but
so take those questions one at a time,
Okay.
right? I'm not trying to jump in,
okay.
but take them one at a time, because there were a bunch of questions in there, like,
So
are they
number
gonna allow
one is-
parking? And if they are, how's that gonna work? And is there a
Yeah, so
mitigation
on the
plan in the
parking.
foot traffic? You get a better response.
I'll let the applicant respond on the parking signage in the parking lot, just because that would be a private.
What is gonna be done about parking that should go to the stadium that may end up here? Has that been considered, or?
It's been considered, but it's hard to talk about until you see it. And if you see it, then you would have to post signage to limit that or restrict it within the parking lot of this side.
Okay, I just know as close as it is, I'm not worried about the parking and the people being in the parking lot. That's an ownership issue. I'm talking about the traffic and the foot traffic that would be crossing Stadium Drive in an area that's got some site issues, particularly for events, and then especially at night. So I don't know that we can do anything here, but it is a concern for me.
Well, and I think the concerns are happening within the public right of way. I'm not sure what we could do on the private side, but obviously there's public concerns on the right of way. I mean, I hope there's pedestrian traffic going across, using these restaurants here.
Sure.
Before or afterwards. But I think what you're getting to is something that's off-site for us and on-site for y'all
Yeah.
to figure out if it becomes an issue.
Yeah, and just like we've done in other areas, I mean, that was kind of how the mid-block crossing happened here, City staff became aware of an issue. If we become aware of an issue, evaluate it at that time, and then make a decision on what kind of mitigation we could do at that point also.
Look like you've got someone lined up to
Sure, go
answer the
ahead.
question.
I can help with this too. Robert Wilson with the engineering department. So this area of Stadium Drive is designed with the existing sidewalk across the street to prevent or to discourage people from crossing there. So the idea is that they will go north to the roundabout and then cross at a safe part at the roundabout.
Right, but you've got this
So-
little crossing area here on what would be the southwest corner of this development that I think would drive foot traffic there, so.
You're referencing where the red pavers are. So the sidewalk is not designed to allow that motion across the street for the pedestrian.
Yeah, I realize we're
So,
not gonna solve it.
hey, I'm sorry. So did I hear on one hand, the sentiment that we want there to be traffic because you hope that people that are over at the stadium come to use the restaurants, and on the other hand, that the sidewalk is designed to impede pedestrian traffic?
The idea for the sidewalk is that people will cross on the north.
Where do you want people, I'm sorry, Commissioner Brown, if I may,
Go ahead.
where are people supposed to cross Stadium Drive?
They will cross at the roundabout to the north of this location.
Not shown, yeah, so it's not shown on the map, right?
Correct. It's
So-
just to the north there.
Okay. I'm gonna do this imperfectly, but if you look, because I also can't see this, so to the south of Building 1, okay, it looks like, and again, I don't have my glasses, I'm sorry, but there's a street there. Well, don't move it from me.
Oh, I know, I'm sorry.
It's not fair.
It's tricking you up. This is where we were just trying to show what he's talking about, the roundabout here. So
Right,
from
okay,
here-
so, hold on.
You want me
So
to go
put it-
back to
Put
this?
it back to
Okay.
the other one, if you don't mind. Okay, so people are gonna, by the way, you're gonna let people park here during games or events at Constellation? Is that gonna be permissible or regulated?
I mean, I think that's what Peter was saying, is that they don't have an answer for that now.
All right, so how many parking spots are in that lot?
This one,
Mm-hmm,
it'll depend on what specific uses go in each building.
okay, that makes sense. So down, it looks like there's okay, so again, I'm looking to the southwest of Building 1. Let me see if I can get this. What exhibit is this? B2? All right, 1 second. No, I got it. So there's an existing walkway that goes to the west to the proposed walkway? And then across Stadium Drive, do you see that shaded area, the two squares? Is that a crosswalk?
No, sir.
What is it?
It's just decorative paving that was installed with the road.
If I
So you don't
may,
think people are gonna try to, and to the west of that, there's pedestrian walkway that's around that lake that's not part of this plan, correct? You don't think people are gonna walk out to that walkway and try to run across Stadium Drive into the other walkway on the west? And by the way, don't you want some of that to happen? So, I need some answers.
on game day, that is traffic controlled. There is a flag man
Yeah.
that sits
Yeah,
on the
I mean,
northbound side of that street to wave people across into
Yeah,
the
I mean,
parking lot.
this is a zoning document about 3 buildings on this piece of property, not about what happens during a game day. I mean, that is he's right. There are traffic measures that we as the city partner with our partners at Constellation Field to work out. Whether it's closing that entrance vehicularly, whoever's been there, it's a one-way in, then you circulate around, and then you go out and they change it based on the hours of the game. One, in the beginning, that's open, at the end, that's open.
Okay.
So it's managed, the traffic is managed from that standpoint. What I think Robert was saying is the fact that the reason that the pedestrian traffic is supposed to go up there is just what you all were saying, that the traffic comes down so quickly off that bridge. So that's why it's designed that way. I mean,
Right. Yeah, what's the distance from, like, let's say, the monument sign up to the roundabout? I'm sorry, I'm jumping in.
monument
So,
sign.
I mean, we need,
Not a developer question.
yeah,
It's a city question about
And
how
so
you're gonna
that's-
stop people from walking across that
And so
street.
that's where my previous sort of statement was going, is that if city staff became aware that there was a safety concern or there was a problem, that's when we would step in. I mean, whether it's signage on the street.
I know, but you're asking us to approve this with the potential for a plan and saying, well, you can't really think about what the consequences of this
Right.
plan are, but if something comes up, we'll deal with it later. I mean,
But
that's
this has
not,
always been commercial zone property that
Okay.
would, so, I mean, it's always been developed to
right, but,
be a commercial development to support, this in the general development plan is set up to be a retail area to support the surrounding residential uses, as well as be, kind of partner with Constellation on game days
sure, but
or event
it's
days.
reasonable to ask whether or not the pedestrian walkways here, both
It-
existing and proposed, make sense in light of the larger.
It's definitely,
plan.
it's definitely reasonable, but I think that was looked at from the standpoint of where the bridge traffic comes down at a pace, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's why it was designed to go up around. Whether human behavior does that or not, that's the way it was designed to be safely executed.
Okay, are there any, let me ask it a different way. Is there going to be any barrier on this proposed sidewalk to the west, on the west side, to prevent people from trying to run across Stadium Drive? Going to be trees, landscaping,
I think there
anything?
is, I think there are trees there.
And I realize
There's
it's
definitely a
out, I
light
realize
pole.
it's not part of this
No, I
plan.
follow what you're saying, but at the same
I'm asking if
time,
there's already maybe some mitigation in place or not.
yeah. I think there are trees there. I don't know what's in the median. Looks like a
I believe there's
light pole.
there between this side,
Mhm.
there's landscaping too,
Yeah,
along
he's,
the opposite
he's
side
talking
of the
about right here. There's some type of light, I think there's a light pole there. There's those decorative light poles that go along the road.
Grass between the sidewalk and the curb
On the,
on,
on the east.
on the east side of that
Mhm.
road.
Right, but you're also, okay, and let me make sure I'm being clear. There's also on B2, it shows a proposed sidewalk, but that's not part of this plan, right?
No, it
It's
would,
outside of the black line, that's why I asked.
right, but it's
The developer would
connecting,
Still put that in.
that's connecting with the existing sidewalk there.
So that is part of this plan, even though it's outside of the black dotted line.
No, that's already there. isn't it? I think that's already there.
Typically sidewalks are put in by the developers.
B4 or a B6.
Yeah.
You've got
Mhm.
that existing.
Mhm.
That proposed.
And that proposed, yeah. So you're right, it is proposed, but I know it's outside, so we would get a pedestrian access easement to do that. That, there are
Okay, but-
sidewalks in the right of way.
So the proposed sidewalk that's here,
Mhm.
again, to the west, that is part of this plan that we're being asked to review tonight.
To
Okay,
connect to that existing walkway from the lofts.
okay. I'm gonna jump in one more of your questions, and then I'm gonna shut
Feel
up
free
for
to.
a minute. For a minute. So going back to Commissioner Brown's first question, so on the north side here, where you've got the 10-foot building and parking setback, it's also shown in the same green. Is there a possibility of having outdoor seating back there?
So that was discussed last time, and the representative from Johnson Development was here and spoke about the, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, the property line for the detention pond goes to there, so you can't build on any of that behind there because of, sorry.
My comment is you're right, but you can move the buildings back.
Yeah, so,
And-
but there's no ability outside of, I guess, to the north of that 10-foot.
Right,
But yes.
you could enlarge that
Sure.
area to capitalize on the view to the lake, to Commissioner Brown's point.
Go ahead.
Peter Brocher with the HRA. One of the things you're trying to do with any outdoor dining is capture any prevailing breeze we have, typically from the south. And so that's why I'd be disinclined to try to add something on the north side of the buildings. And that's why we're inclined to put it between the buildings.
Okay.
So, and hopefully have a
So
funnel.
the
of
building
breeze through
doesn't
there.
break the wind flow.
Yeah,
Makes
because, I mean, anytime you've eaten outside and there's no air, it's like, oof.
Fair point.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
No, I just would ask that staff pays attention to the foot traffic issue, because I think it's gonna be something that we can look at and go, it'll take care of itself. To think that anyone's gonna walk 500 feet, because I just measured it, up to the roundabout to come back, we know and it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's a concern. We're putting the development in, so it does ring with planning in terms of that. But in terms of that northern building facade, I would like to see some things done with that to make it better.
All right.
Yield back.
Thank you.
I have a concern, actually. I just noted it. If the retail is 15,000 and the other two buildings are 5 each, we're up to 25,000 square foot of retail. Have they actually looked at the parking? I don't think this site can generate that sort of parking to even support basic use. And if it's a restaurant, restaurant requires a lot more
Yeah, they
parking.
require
And
more
if they're
parking.
going to do outdoor dining, I don't,
Yeah, and we park the outdoor dining too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens in the event that they come back and they say that, okay, we're going to lease building 2 to one restaurant, 5,000 square feet. And this is just a scenario, okay? Building 3, 5,000 square feet to another restaurant. So now you have 10,000 square feet on a 2.8 acres.
Type restaurant.
And building 1 is also being constructed for retail only. This site cannot support that sort of parking. I just did a quick math, and what happens in the scenario that these 3 buildings are up because we approved today and the parking is not there?
Not- Then they wouldn't be able to do 2 restaurants. I mean, that's the straight answer, is that, I mean, we've run into situations like that before in PD districts where,
Where retail sits vacant because there is insufficient parking?
no, they modified the size of what they wanted to do in that scenario.
During the design phase.
During the site planning process with us, yeah, with
Okay.
staff.
So when you're looking at a site, and I know it's not part of plat or whatever, when you're looking at the site plan, you will see that, okay, if the parking cannot support retail, which is a basic step 1, right?
Right.
Then you will ask them to reduce the footprint and they will have to.
To find a solution, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want, yeah, go ahead.
If I may add to the first part of your question, the site layout here is based on a site plan prepared by the applicant that did have the parking numbers and analysis on there. And I had questions on it, just similar to yours, on the restaurants. And so we went through that, verified the numbers, because my exact concern is yours. And so we saw that, but once again, if you have more restaurant use, you even have less building because the restaurant requires more parking.
And Sugarland has a very high parking requirement for restaurant. And
Yes.
each one of those stalls is actually also, I think, a 10 by 20. And then there's a drive aisle.
9 by,
You can
And a
go,
10 by
you
18,
can go
yeah.
down if your drive aisles are wider, so,
no,
yeah.
before we drew the site layout plan, I had questions with them on
Yeah,
their site plan with their parking numbers.
okay, well, as long as everybody is aware that doesn't look like it can do this, and that footprint
Yeah, and then that's
may
also-
have to be revised.
Yeah, and that's also why they put the plus or minus also,
Okay.
so they can decrease.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Ushold.
Thank you. Just a quick traffic question on Silent Manor. I don't know that I remember seeing, I must have missed it the first time through, the cut through that went back to Silent Manor. Is there any concern about that with the parking lot and the traffic numbers going that way out of the, through that street? Is that street?
Silent Manor is, and I was trying to get it pulled back up here. But if you look on B2, Exhibit B2, yes. So that was, that's always been designed as an access point. So it's always been an access, there's gates there. Now it's a fire access for the lofts, the Ballpark lofts. But there's, yes. Short answer is yes. It
Thank
was
you.
planned to come off of the cul-de-sac and access this.
Thank you. I just missed that the first time.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hart, you had no questions, correct?
I just want to echo your sentiments.
Go ahead.
Also on the crossing, and I don't think we should hold up the developer on that, but I do want to say that staff planning and zoning has made mistakes in the past on improving things. The Costco driveway is one of them. It's never been fixed. So I worry about that. We know that the pedestrians are going to cross there. So that's just want to echo my fellow commissioners' sentiments on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hart. Commissioner Landine? You're good?
Good.
Vice Chairman Simeon, no questions. All right, I have a couple questions. Okay. Couple questions for me. I noticed the survey is from, I can't read this now, sorry, February of 2021. Any concerns about that?
They'll have to plat it. I mean, they'll have to go through the subdivision platting process. This is just a survey, so it's still raw acreage. So
Okay.
they'll have to formally plat it before they can pull permit.
And were there any changes to this plan made based on the comments from P&Z last time regarding maximizing the use of the property relative to the lake, to the water?
Not from the standpoint of building layouts or any of that. The main change was removing that use.
Okay, has there been any study with respect to the impact of the lighting on this plan on the ballpark lofts?
No, but not with this zoning document. That will come into place from the staff level when we get through the civils, the site plan, the photometric plan, to look at lighting adjacent to the residential. Those are the garages, which you may know right there.
Okay.
So fortunately, it's not somebody's,
And there's no.
Living room, but-
There are no lofts that have views out to looking out to the north?
I'm sure there are some, yes, that do view it, but I just meant directly behind it are the garages.
And my next question, I'm not suggesting this needed to happen, it's just a question. Has there been any notice to the residents of the ballpark lofts? And if the answer is no, at what point would they be provided with notice and opportunity to be heard?
The owner management company of the ballpark lofts were notified. Since we notify property owners, they don't, all the different renters wouldn't get a notice
Okay,
since it's rental property.
okay, so, all right, I think I understood.
Same as if we had something adjacent to a single-family home and it was a rental, the renter wouldn't have the notice, the property owner would.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, thank you, I think that's all I had. Okay, commissioners, any other discussions? Anyone want to make a motion?
I do think that at some point we need to, as we've said, make a point in our recommendation that the traffic controls for the pedestrians crossing, because frankly, I think that they should change the pedestrian crossing for game days to make that a pedestrian crossing that is managed with people the way it is now. I don't know how we codify that.
Yeah, I don't either, other than, I think if there, we don't have a motion, but if there were a motion, it could potentially request that at least that P&Z's action on this project included recommendations for city council's consideration to consider whatever we wanted to add to it. Correct? Am I wrong on that? Yeah, if there's a motion, which now we don't have.
If we're just discussing, I think that falls in the domain of trying to speak to the operation of this development, whereas we're here to speak to the development of this area. The city has means and methods to manage crosswalks other than this one during the games. So I don't know as it would, be possible. There probably isn't any harm in attaching it to the motion, but I don't see where it's actionable personally. So.
Okay.
Yeah, all fair comments. Nope, not yet.
Not coded on it.
Not yet.
Mentioned in the minutes.
Well, I don't have a
So
motion
that the,
yet.
Well, if I can make a motion, I'd like to make a motion to approve, provided that the rear elevation mirrors the sides and the front elevations, the requirements for that, and that council consider the traffic impact and the crosswalk and direct staff to consider mitigation if it so arises.
All right, that's a motion. Is there a second? Got a second? I've got a motion by Commissioner Brown. I have a second by, is it Commissioner Hart? I believe so. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah. Again, I don't know if at this stage we can start playing with facades and building finishes and glass, and, I mean, that was the gist of where you were, right?
Yeah, well, my consideration was,
That's
is in,
part of the motion now, yes.
yes.
Okay. All right.
Can we read? Can I just clarify?
Chuck, what, can you just have a little more precision on what your,
Yeah, that might help
your
you as
motion?
well.
Yeah, let me get to that. I will be happy to pull it.
Well, hold on, we'll look at the city attorney, we've got a motion, right? No, he's asking just to clarify, I think, what the motion was, which I think that's fair.
So who made the motion?
Brown.
Okay, so are you gonna clarify?
Can we amend it or to clarify it, or?
Since you made the motion.
Yeah, in the motion, I said that the rear would mirror the fronts and the sides, so that in building regulation G, item 1A, that all
For
front
buildings 2 and 3,
buildings 2 and 3, as shown in figure 2, all front, side, and rear building facades shall include offsets, changes in building materials, colors, and textures and architectural detailing that create shade and cast shadows. No uninterrupted length of facade shall exceed 100 feet.
and to clarify, the motion on the table was a motion for a recommendation of approval
Yes.
of this item with that modification, correct? So I think we've now clarified the motion that's on the table. Any further discussion?
Do we have a second?
Pardon?
Do we have a second?
We had a second.
Okay,
Yes.
so so the second to the clarification to the motion? Okay, so at that point, okay, now we can proceed.
Any other discussion? All right, please vote.
Good, hand vote. I'm not logged in.
You a yay? All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yays and 1 nay. That motion will pass. Thank you very much, commissioners. Thank you to all who presented and answered questions from the commission. Much appreciated. Item 5A, reports, Planning and Zoning Commission liaison report from the August 2nd City Council meeting.
That was me, and unfortunately, I left my notes at work, so I'm going from my memory. And I appreciate if staff does remember what occurred. Please correct me. There were some drainage studies that were approved on the consent agenda. University Commons Phase 3 was brought up and it was approved. And they authorized the Brazos River Park Phase 3 construction, I think. That's all I remember.
Thank you, Commissioner Hart. Well done. Item 5B, city staff report.
Just not much to report, just the next meeting is the 25th of August, and we are looking at a subdivision plat, which we haven't seen in a while, something different. And that might be the only thing on the agenda, and then more to come for September.
Is the meeting, is that on the 25th? There's a meeting that's going to start at 5:30 instead of 6:30. Is it that one?
No, it's not that one.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other business? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.